call the BMW M4 grille a mistake. But what if it's not a mistake? It's intentional. Because that grille isn't just there to be seen. It's there to solve problems. Cooling, airflow, packaging, even regulations, all packed into one design decision. And once you see that, you start to realize this was never about looks, because this grille isn't just there to be seen. It's there to work. Behind it is a system of active air flaps, opening and closing depending on what the engine needs. Cruising, they shut, reducing drag. Push the car, they open, feeding air into a tightly packed engine pushing over 500 horsepower. And that's where things get interesting, because modern performance cars aren't just about power anymore. They're about managing heat, airflow, and efficiency all at once. Inside that front end is a maze. Radiators, intercoolers, oil coolers, all fighting for space. And suddenly, that oversized grille starts to make sense. But here's the part most people miss. This wasn't just an engineering solution, because if it was, BMW could have hidden it. They didn't. So if the engineering explains why it works, it doesn't explain why BMW made it look like this. Because they didn't have to. They could have hidden all of that behind a smaller, cleaner design, and no one would have questioned it. But they didn't. And that's where this stops being engineering and starts becoming strategy. Because today, cars aren't just built to perform, they're built to be recognized. Especially in markets like China, where size at the front of a car isn't just design, it's status. Bigger grille, more presence, more attention. And when every brand is chasing the same thing, attention, subtlety stops working. So, BMW made a choice, not just to solve airflow, but to make sure when you see this car, you don't confuse it with anything else. Which means this grille isn't just functional, it's deliberate. And here's where this gets even more interesting. Because this idea, this tall, vertical grille, isn't actually new. BMW has done this before, long before the M4, before the M3, even before most people were paying attention. Cars like the 328 and the 507 already carried that same vertical kidney shape. Back then, it wasn't about making a statement. It was about function, more cooling, more airflow. The exact same problems, just at a different scale. But BMW saw something in it. Not just function, identity. So instead of abandoning it, they refined it, generation after generation. Sometimes smaller, sometimes wider, sometimes almost invisible, until now. Because what you're seeing on the M4 isn't a completely new idea. It's an old idea, pushed further than it's ever been before. And yet, even knowing all of that, the engineering, the history, the strategy, it still doesn't sit right for a lot of people. Because this isn't just about what the grille does, it's about what it feels like. For decades, BMW built its identity around restraint, clean lines, balanced proportions, designs that didn't need to shout to be recognized. And then this shows up, bigger, taller, impossible to ignore. It doesn't blend in, it demands attention. And that's the part that divides people. Because to some, this feels like BMW evolving, but to others, it feels like BMW changing the rules completely. Like the car is no longer trying to connect with the driver, but with the world watching it. And maybe that's why the reaction was so strong. Because this grille doesn't just change how the M4 looks, it changes what people think BMW is supposed to be. So what actually changed? Because BMW didn't just wake up one day and decide to make the grille bigger. Something deeper shifted. For a long time, BMW built cars around one idea: the driver. Everything was designed to be experienced from behind the wheel. The feedback, the balance, the connection, the design reflected that. Subtle, focused, almost understated. But the world around those cars changed. Because today, cars aren't just driven. They're seen, shared, filmed, judged in seconds. And that changes what matters. Because now, the first impression doesn't happen on the road, it happens on a screen. And on a screen, subtlety disappears. So BMW adapted, not by removing what made the car great to drive, but by changing how it presents itself, making sure that even before you hear it, before you feel it, you notice it. That's why the grille had to become what it is. Not just bigger, but unmistakable. Because in a world where everything looks the same, being recognized instantly is just as important as how the car performs. And that's the shift. The M4 didn't stop being a driver's car, just became something else as well. So after all of that, there's still one question left. Does it actually work? Because none of this matters if the car itself doesn't deliver. And here's the part that changes everything. The moment you start driving it, the grille disappears. You don't see it. You don't think about it. What you feel instead is everything BMW has always been known for. The balance, the precision, the way the car responds to you. And suddenly, that front end stops being the story. Because the experience takes over. which creates a strange contradiction. From the outside, this car feels like a departure, but from behind the wheel, it feels completely familiar. And maybe that's the real point. The M4 didn't replace what BMW was. It just made it louder, more visible. Because this grille doesn't change the experience, it changes the first impression. And for a lot of people, that's where the conflict begins. Because this wasn't just a design change, it felt like something deeper shifted. BMW built its reputation on restraint, on the idea that performance didn't need to shout. And then suddenly, this does the opposite. It demands attention. And for a lot of people, that feels like something was lost, not because the car got worse, but because it stopped speaking the same language, the one BMW fans were used to. And when something familiar changes that much, it doesn't just look different, it feels wrong. But here's the uncomfortable part. BMW didn't design this car for the people who already understood it. They designed it for everyone else, for the people seeing it for the first time, on the street, on a phone screen, in a split second, because that's how cars are judged now, not over time, but instantly. And when that's the game, blending in stops being an option. So this grille isn't just a design risk. It's a response to a completely different world. And maybe that's why this grille matters more than people think. Because it's not just about the M4. It's about what happens when a brand decides to stop playing it safe, to step away from what people expect, and risk getting it wrong, to trade familiarity for impact. Because for a long time, BMW didn't need to do that. Their cars were recognized without trying, understated, balanced, designed to reward the people who understood them. But that world doesn't exist in the same way anymore. Because today, attention is everything. Cars aren't just experienced over time. They're judged instantly, on a screen, in a photo, in a split second. And in that moment, subtlety disappears. So the rules change. Because now it's not enough to be good. You have to be seen. You have to be recognized. You have to stand out immediately. And once you understand that, this grille starts to make a different kind of sense. Not just as design, but as a response. And once you see that here, you start seeing it everywhere. Not just in BMW, but across the entire industry. Because brands aren't just designing cars anymore. They're designing recognition, identity, presence. And in that world, blending in becomes the biggest risk of all. So BMW made a decision, not just to build a better M4, but to make sure you couldn't ignore it, even if you wanted to. And that's why this grille matters, because it marks a shift. And it doesn't stop here. BMW has already taken it further, on a car that changed in a completely different way, but for the same reason. So if you want to see how far that shift really goes, watch the M5 video next, because that story takes this one even further.